Jessie Heredia, and you're listening to Soul Care for the New Mom, a podcast designed with new moms in mind. I love having the opportunity to get to know and support families who are involved in foster care, and today I'm excited to introduce to you my amazing friend Katrina Hilliard, who has so much wisdom to share when it comes to fostering. Both Katrina and her husband have been navigating this world of foster care for the past 3 years and have definitely learned a thing or two about trusting God along the way. I love the honesty with which Katrina describes this roller coaster ride of emotions that oftentimes comes with fostering, and how her faith has been stretched as a result. So if you've ever considered becoming a foster parent, know somebody who is a foster parent, or just want to learn more about the foster care process, I really do believe this episode is going to be an encouragement to you. Hey Katrina, thank you so much for being here today. I can't wait to chat with you.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm really excited about this conversation we're having, especially because I feel like this is a topic that a lot of people are curious about and they want to hear about, but maybe they just don't know who to ask,
Right.
and they don't know somebody who has these experiences to share. So, for those who aren't sure of what the topic for today's conversation is, we are going to be talking all about foster care and about your experiences with it, and just what God has shown you through it. I'm really excited.
Awesome.
All right. Well, just to begin, can you just start off by telling us a little bit about your family and just sort of like, what the season of life looks like for you guys right now?
Oh, absolutely. So my husband and I have been married for 11 years, and we have one adopted son who's 2.5 and a foster son who is 16 months old. So life is messy and busy, but so much fun.
Yes, and I know what some of that's like because
Yeah.
my kids are close in age too, so it's kind of funny that, we both can kind of attest to just how challenging and crazy
Yes.
this season can be.
Every day is an
Yes, well,
adventure, that's for sure.
Y yes, it is. Yes, it is. I love seeing the photos and stories of your boys on
Oh,
Instagram.
thank
It's so
you.
fun. Well,
Thank you
I
so
would
much.
I would love I would love for you to share the story behind what led you and your husband Mark to foster care.
Sure. So, when we first got married, we waited a year to start trying to get pregnant, and then we struggled with infertility for years and years. Never had even, not even an unsuccessful pregnancy. Never got pregnant at all. We went to doctor's visits and tests and all that fun stuff, and we got to the point in our process and journey with infertility that the doctor told us that our only option, other than a miracle from God, was in vitro fertilization, IVF. And at that time, he had quoted us like a $20,000 price tag with a
Oh my
30% chance of
goodness.
success. And we were
Yes.
like, what? Like that, like we're super frugal people. We followed Dave Ramsey. We were on a budget. Like that was not an option for us at all. And we knew that we needed to look elsewhere when we were talking about it, and we're like, well, if someone gave us a check for $20,000 tomorrow, what would we do? And we were both like, not IVF. Like we both just knew that
Yeah.
that was not the path that we needed to take. So we started looking into adoption. Foster care was probably the bottom of our list of options, but God kept bringing it up over and over again through people at church. Through my family is actually growing up, I was in a foster family. So I was a biological kid in a foster family. So it kept coming up over and over again. And we just felt like God was opening all the doors and pointing us in that direction. So that's how we got on this path.
Yes, and I love that part. I love that part of your story about how you also grew up in a foster family, meaning that your parents took in foster children, and it's just so interesting how God orchestrated even, those parts of your story and
Right.
that how they all correlate and how they may have prepared you even for this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
it's one of
just
those things that I grew up and I loved it, but it wasn't what we had
yeah.
chosen. Like it wouldn't have been like, I mean, it was great as a kid, but I'd never planned for my family to be this way. But it's a total God thing, and He's blessed us along the way. So here we are.
Yes, I love that. And did Mark have any exposure at all to foster care at the time, or was this all entirely new to him?
Only from my family because we grew up. We were childhood friends, so that was his only exposure to it. I mean, he knew what it was,
Okay.
but not anything, not in the home or anything.
Yes, yeah. Well, I feel like it's, I'm glad that there are people out there who are, growing up with people who are doing this so that they can get that exposure and have a
Right,
better understanding of it. Like I'm
right.
very thankful to be following along on, on you guys' journey and just being able to understand more of the process through what you guys share. And that's just
Well,
such a
thank you.
blessing to us. Yes.
Thank you.
Um, well, I would love for you to dive into just some of the process of becoming certified and the sorts of things that you guys were feeling or experiencing through that process, and then what happened when your first foster son, who is now your adopted son,
Yes, spoiler
Joshua,
alert.
when he
Sorry.
came to you. Yeah, spoiler alert.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. So we started the process in January of 2016, and it took us about 6 months start to finish. And everyone will tell you there's tons and tons and tons of paperwork. So I would work on the paperwork during the day, and Mark would come home from work, and I'm like, sign all these papers and just pass them across the table to him. Is how we survived getting through all that. And then you have a home study where someone comes in and ask you every question about your life that you could think of, any about your childhood, your relationship, how you met. I mean, it's a little invasive. I didn't mind it as much because I'm a talker, but Mark felt a little like you're all in my space. Why do you need to know all this? But they're just making sure that people are vetted and that they are appropriate for children, obviously,
Sure,
because it's a
yeah.
big responsibility. And then we got an email in June on a Thursday at 10 a.m. Saying we were approved. And by noon, we had a call for a placement. So it was
Oh my
crazy fast
goodness.
once we got the approval. And that was a placement for two little boys, and one had a broken, I think both legs were broken, and he was like 4 months old, I want to say. So as scary as that sounds, we said yes. But thankfully, they found family for them, which is always the best option if they can find family
Yes.
for them to go to. Um, so that was on a Thursday. And then Friday by noon, we had another phone call for a little 3-week-old African American baby boy. And I told the worker, I was like, I have to call my husband. I'm 99% sure the answer is yes, but I need to call my husband. So I called Mark, and of course he said yes. And so by 5:30 that day, he was in our house. So that's where how our current adopted son got to us.
Oh my goodness, and what were those first days like? Were you, excited, nervous? Like, what were all the emotions and thoughts that were going on in you
Oh my
guys?
goodness, every emotion imaginable. So it's the craziest thing when they bring the children to you because the lady comes up to the door. She got stuck in Friday afternoon traffic on 285. She was like, I had to stop and feed him. And then I don't have another bottle for him. I don't know what his schedule is. Here you go. So
Oh my
she might have been
goodness.
here 10 minutes. And then she left. And Mark and I looked at each other like, okay. So
Wow.
yes, it's crazy that they just drop these kids off and then say bye. So we scooped him up and changed his clothes and changed his diaper, and I was super uber prepared. So I already had a bottle, and so I made a bottle for him, and he ate, and we just loved and snuggled on him. And it was actually Father's Day weekend, so Mark got to celebrate his first
Yes.
Father's Day. We got him on
Oh.
Friday, and Father's Day was Sunday. So all the emotions. And then we had court on Monday morning, which is a whole nother set of emotions.
Mm.
And so Mark got to meet birth mom that day. And what was really sad is she thought that the baby would be with him and he wasn't. And so she was upset, and Mark was there by himself and didn't know what to do. And so it's a whirlwind for sure. It was a little crazy. And then when they come into care, you have doctor's visits you have to get them to. You have caseworkers come. So the first month is you just feel like your head's spinning. So after that, it calms down. But the first month is pretty crazy when you get a new placement.
Oh, I'm sure. And I first of all, the fact that it happened over Father's Day weekend, that's just so beautiful
I
and just oh, I
know.
love that so much. Second of all, the fact that the caseworker only stayed for 10 minutes and
Yeah,
then left, that just makes me oh, like it feels so overwhelming, but at the same time it's kind of the same thing when when you have a baby in a hospital, you're only there for like a day or two and
that's
then
true.
you go home
They're
and
like,
you're
have
done,
fun, figure it out.
Right,
Yeah,
yes, yes, so I mean, 10 minutes is such a short amount of time, but I mean, I guess, she knew that you guys would figure it out, and
right.
you surely did, so,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know what I was really
Well,
expecting going into it, but I was like, 10 minutes was not what I was expecting. Like, what are you doing, lady? Why
right.
are you dropping this child off at my house with no instructions? And she was even like, I asked
Yes.
birth mom if he had a schedule, and she said, not really. So bye. It was just
So
crazy.
you're
It was
on
good.
your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm sure that everyone who's listening is like, "Well, like, then what?" Like,
Yeah.
but I can assure everybody that you guys did eventually find a good groove. So can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, how did the next few months go? What sort of challenges did you maybe face? And all the blessings that also came through it? And even, like, how
Absolutely.
did you see God moving through this?
Right. Oh, of course, of course. I'll give you just a brief overview of his whole entire case because since he's adopted, we can talk about anything we want to. Before they're adopted, you're kind of closed-lipped on everything. So,
Yes.
um, so I remember in the foster care training class we did a weekend class, and so Friday night was the first class, and they talked about birth parents and being involved with the birth parents as much as possible and being a
Mhm.
support for them, and that you kind of take on the whole family and all this stuff that sounds great on paper. And Mark and I got in the car that night and we were like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're not taking on a family to raise. Are you crazy? Like, we had very bad attitudes about,
Mm.
these people don't deserve their children because they got them taken away. And we were just in a terrible place as far as it came to birth parents. And then fast forward to meeting Joshua's birth mom, we decided to transport him back and forth to visits because they were on Saturday morning. He had them once a week for 2 hours. And we had two transporters, not really great experience. And so we were like, we'll just take them ourselves. It'll be fine. So we got to see mom every single week, which
Yeah.
was great because we could support her and see her, but it was also pretty emotional for me. I think Mark handled it better than I did, but it's just like you live the whole week and you feel like he's your child and then you see birth mom and you're like, oh wait, but he's in foster care. So every week it was like a reminder, which is good because that's the goal of foster care, is always to get them back with their parents if it's safe and possible. So for me that was a lot of emotions every week. I'm like, oh, he's mine, oh no he's not, oh he's mine, oh no he's not. So that took some growing on my part for sure. And
Yeah.
I also realized very quickly that all birth parents are not terrible, awful people that need their kids ripped away from them. His mom, in particular, she loved him and she wanted to be a good mom for him, but she didn't have the skills because of her upbringing and some struggles that she was dealing with. So I humanized her. It was easy in those classes to be like, oh, they don't deserve it, take them away. But when you
Mm.
meet one that's in just a hard place, when I met his birth mom, I just had so much compassion for her, and God completely changed my heart about what ministry I was in. And this wasn't just a ministry for Joshua; it was for her too. So that was one huge thing that God did in my heart. For Mother's Day, we celebrated our first Mother's Day at the same year, so we got her a gift and like made sure she felt loved and accepted and supported. And I would send her pictures, and I just did all these things. Like the Holy Spirit would just show me things to do for her to help her in a really tough spot too. So that was probably the biggest like change for me because I was not
Yeah.
there when we first went through classes for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that so much.
Yeah. It was a major change for me. I was very selfish and I quickly changed and realized that she deserved love just like I do. And God's cleaned up a lot of my messes too. So she deserved that same love and grace. So fast forward about a year, we had Joshua for a year. And on a Saturday morning, we were at visitation and birth mom pulled us aside and she was like, I want to talk to you guys about adopting him. I want to sign my rights over. I just can't take care of him. I really want to, but I can't. And so I want to sign my rights over so you can adopt him. And so we were floored and excited and grace, like we were so grateful. But I was like, well, let's pause this conversation and let's call our caseworker on Monday morning because we couldn't do anything about that. Like that would definitely have to be something to go through DFACS. So all weekend long, we were flying high, so excited. And then Monday, we got a phone call from the caseworker. And at this time, no family had come forward for him. They had looked for family, couldn't find anyone. There was another family member that had said that she didn't want, just there was just no one for him basically. So we'd had him for a year and thought we were going to get to adopt him. And so the caseworker called that Monday morning and said, we found a great aunt and uncle for him, and they seem very appropriate and they're very interested in placement. They're meeting for a home study right now. Like
Wow.
we
Yeah.
were like, talk about top of the roller coaster, bottom of the roller coaster. I mean, we were floored and completely caught off guard and terrified and so sad and heartbroken and just every kind of emotion that you could imagine. So that was crazy. And
Yeah.
then we met them. We decided at that point, you know what? God knows best what's best for him, and we might just be a temporary family for him, and that's going to have to be okay. And we're going to trust God with his future, and we have no say or no rights over this, so we just have to trust God. Was really our only option. As hard as that was, because I'm a control freak and like to have things in order and in control. And so then we met them at court about a month later, and they were the kindest, nicest people we could ever hope to place him with. Like we just felt so much peace around them. We hit it off with them immediately. They were like family. We left the courthouse, and I was like, Mark, the thing is, like, I can't be angry because I know that if he goes to them, that he would be loved just the way that I do, which was all I could ever ask for and want if I had to
Yeah.
pass him off to someone. So we just walked through that one day at a time, and we got to know them and sent them pictures of him and updates from him. And they were actually having the home study people come to their house the next day, so we knew that this was a very viable option, and could very likely be him leaving us. And so then 2 weeks later, I believe it was, the husband, the great uncle, called Mark, and I get teary eyed every time I say this, but he called Mark and he said that they had been praying about it and that they could not remove him from us because of the bond that he has with us. And he thanked
Mm,
Mark over and over again for taking care of his blood. And they were so grateful that Joshua was loved and cared for, and that he wanted him to stay with us. And so we were, again, top of the roller coaster again, like overjoyed, so excited, so grateful to them. And then things just moved on from there, and we adopted him this past September. So, long story short,
yes.
long story long, that's in a nutshell his case. Um, so what's even cooler is that now we have a relationship with a great aunt and uncle. They've had us over to dinner. They give us presents. They're just like the sweetest people. I can't speak more highly of them. And we also still have a relationship with mom because we were so kind to her the whole time, intentionally to bless her. We have a relationship with her as well. So when Joshua gets older and has questions or wants to meet her or meet them, or like, we have those biological family relationships, which I think is really important. So it's the best, it's the most beautiful story God could have ever written, and it was full of ups and downs, but so worth it.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to talk for a second about, because you said it had ups and downs and you shared some of the downs. What I know that not every story goes like this.
Right.
Sometimes a family, becomes very attached to a child that they're fostering, and then it turns out that the child does go back to the birth parents or
Hmm.
to other relatives. Can you speak to that for a minute? I mean, I know that that wasn't the case with you guys, but what kind of encouragement can you give either women who have endured this or women who are thinking about trying foster care, but they're afraid of the possibility that they won't be able to keep the child forever?
Right. Right. And like you said, I can't speak from that from personal experience. I have watched friends walk through that, and it's
Mhm.
heartbreaking. And you just get, you like, everyone says, "Oh, I could never be a foster parent because I get so attached." Well, of course, that's what you should be doing. So of course you get
Yeah.
attached. Of course they feel like they're your kid, that they're your kids. But one thing I can say is every step along the way, like every scary court date, every the even when we were walking through knowing that Joshua would probably leave us, I feel like God's grace just met us at every single step. And it's we look at each other all the time and say, would you have believed 6 months ago we could have walked through this with such peace? Like, and
Yeah.
so even though it's hard and you grieve, and and still, and again, I still can't speak from this from personal experience, but I know if and when we come to that point, which I'm sure we will at some point, it's just God's grace meets you at every turn, and even in the hard, He is still good, and it can still carry you through that. Which is easier said than done. Sounds great on paper, but I know for sure that that's His character, and He will get us through all the ups and downs that
Yes.
are even coming that we can't see. So that would be my biggest encouragement.
Yes, yes, that's such good truth. And you mentioned, that this could be a possibility for your future, which brings me to my next question, which is what led you to open your home and your heart again, even before you adopted Joshua? Because now you have two little boys in your home.
Right.
So
Just
what
two
was
little
that like?
ones.
What led you to that?
Mark and I both felt like we were not done. We knew for sure that one wasn't all that we wanted. And so we decided when he had just turned 17 months old to open again. We both prayed about it and just felt like that was when we were supposed to. And as crazy as it was getting into foster care, we really feel like foster care is a ministry that God's called us to. And
Mm,
He's given us the strength to walk through in this season. And we don't know if it's going to be 4 or 5 years or 10 years or 2 years, or, we don't know how much longer that we'll be foster parents, but we definitely feel his hand in this and we feel a calling to it. So we were just like, okay, it's time. So our second little peanut came to us at 3 weeks old as well, in October of 2017. So and his case is still ongoing, so we don't know what's going to happen, don't know where he's going to end up, but we are loving him to pieces in the meantime.
yes, I love that. What has life been like for you guys, having two so close together in age? And I'm asking this because, I'm there too, so
Right.
I love hearing it. So tell us what's that been like?
I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like the first 6 months, I was like, what have I done? It's just like, oh my goodness, I don't have enough
Yes.
hands. I don't know what I can do. And they're both really great, great babies. Like we've been blessed with super easy babies, but it's just the constant demand of someone needs something
Mhm.
at all times. So once the 6 month mark hit, I was like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. Like I can, and the main thing was not letting the oldest one hurt the little one unintentionally. Like you're supposed to love on him and kiss all over him, and I'm like,
Right.
he's 2 months old. You can't jump on top of him. So definitely tiring for sure. And then again at like 1 year, I felt like we turned another corner, and I was like, okay, they're getting a little more independent. Like we can do this. It's slowly getting better, but having them 16 and a half months apart has definitely been an adventure. But I do love it. Like now they're getting where they play together all the time. They're best friends. So I'm really glad that we did get them so close in age, but it's definitely a challenge for sure.
Yes, yes, and I agree with you that for us, my girls are 19 months apart, and
Uh-huh.
those first, yeah, I think you're right. About 6 months, it was a challenge. It
Yes.
was like you're trying to get your bearings, you're trying to figure out a schedule that works for everybody,
Exactly.
and it's kind of hard to, explain to your toddler why, we wanna be quiet so we
Yeah.
don't wake up Sissy, and,
Yes.
why, I can't go give her snack right away because I'm, nursing or feeding, and
Right.
it was overwhelming, and especially with just all of the fears of, "Can I handle this? Do I wanna leave the house today? Do I
Exactly.
wanna" you start to question your abilities. But you're right, around the 6-month mark, it actually for us, it definitely got easier, and now we've gotten into a good groove, and I love that you guys have too.
Yeah.
That's just I hope that that's an encouragement to any
Yes,
people
hang
out
in
there
there. It
who
does
are
get better.
yes. Yes.
Newborns are hard. Newborns take up so
Yes.
much energy. They're adorable
Oh,
and
they
cute, but
are.
they take up lots of energy, but it does get better.
Yes, it does, it does. So back to our conversation about fostering, I would love to know a little bit more about some of the fears that you maybe had, or maybe not even just fears, but also misconceptions. Because I know that, you touched on the misconception you had about how, all birth families aren't, bad people,
Right.
and that was a
Right.
big paradigm shift for you guys. So were there any other misconceptions or fears or just other things like that that you guys dealt with that you can speak to today?
I would say my biggest fear, which is still to this day that I have to fight, is the unknown. You're really in control of nothing. And I know biological families are in control of nothing either, but it's just I don't know, it's just very like, oh, someone can come take them tomorrow. Okay, like I have to be okay with that. So the
Yeah.
unknown is definitely the hardest part of foster care for me, because it's just like we could have them for another week, another month, another 2 months, or their lifetime, and there's no there's no plan, like you can't see past the next court date. So that's definitely the hardest thing for me, and it's something that God and I work on all the time to try to so that I will calm down and let him do what he's going to do. And my mantra the whole time has just been, we trust God to build our family, and whether that means that our family is just one adopted child and the rest are going to be fosters, or if we have a bunch of foster kids that turn into adopted kids, we just have to trust. And it's just like you with your family too. You have to trust what's coming next, and you can't see the next bend. But I feel like foster care like forces you to trust whether you want to or not immediately. So that's definitely been the biggest hurdle for me. And then misconceptions. I probably thought that it was gonna be a little faster. The process was gonna be faster than it has been. Um, Even with, Jack's case, our little one, I can't say many details because he's still in foster care, but things looked very cut and dry in the beginning, and so I thought, "Oh, quick case, in and out, whatever." And it's not been that way. He's now 16 months old and things are still not settled, so nothing moves quickly. And even with Joshua's case, we had him for over 2 years before his adoption was finalized. So nothing's fast, I guess is what I would say. And I probably
Yeah.
expected like, oh, well, duh, the judge is going to make a ruling because this all makes sense. But there's a lot that goes into the judge's rulings, and there's a lot that goes into the process that I didn't see until I was in it, if that makes sense.
Oh, I'm sure, I'm sure, and
Yeah.
it really is fascinating for someone who's on the outside like me to hear these things because
Hmm.
on the outside looking in, it does kinda look like, there's a lot of ups and downs, and we don't necessarily understand why it's taking so long for there
Right.
to be an adoption.
Right.
Especially because, I knew some of, your case and your situation, so, we were just waiting for the day that you guys would get the news that
Exactly.
you're adopting Joshua,
We were
and
too.
then right, and then months would go by, and then there would be a little, like a little glimmer of hope, and then more months would go by, and so when we heard the news, when you guys announced that you guys were officially adopting him, it was a long time coming, and it was a breath of fresh air, I'm sure.
Right. Right. For
Yes.
sure. Yeah, it's hard not to you have to live in the moment instead of living between court dates. Like we would go to a court hearing for Joshua, and then the next one's 3 months, and I felt like I would have to hold my breath for that 3 months, like, "What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?"
Mhm.
So it's a lot of trusting and taking it one day at a time
Yes.
and trying not to look ahead, because it which is hard for me because I'm a planner. Like I want to plan things out and let's organize our calendar and let's see what vacation we're taking at the end of the year. But in foster care, you don't know it at that vacation if you'll have one, two, or three kids. Like you just don't know any of it. So that's definitely interesting and challenging for sure.
Yes, but I love how God, he stretches you in those
Yes.
ways so that you
Yes.
become even stronger. And I would love for you to speak into that for a minute about just how you've seen God strengthen you, and not just through fostering, but just through being a mom in general. How has God cared for you and shaped you through your motherhood journey?
Oh, I love that question. I definitely, in the same way that I said earlier that like His grace meets you there. We at I don't know how to word it, at every twist and turn and struggle and scary court date or scary report from the defects worker or happy report from the defects worker, we have had just support surrounding us, which has been huge on this journey. And also we have had peace from God like we've never experienced before. And it's almost like there's a tornado going on around, which is, oh, we met with the defects worker today and she said this, but then yesterday they said this. And then, it can just be, the case can be chaotic and just a whirlwind around you. But Mark and I both, like, God's given us an undeniable peace that doesn't make sense kind of thing in the midst of the scary. And so just clinging to that. And then also his word is he's given us like specific words for each step, and I write them all down, and I can look back and be like, oh, at the 6 month mark, this is what God said. And at the, year and a half mark, this is what God said. So he has been very faithful on our journey for sure. And has been sent people to encourage us. He's encouraged us. And it's just been, I don't know, it's crazy that we're here, but I'm so, so, so grateful for it at the same time.
Yes, and I love hearing about how people have rallied around you
Right.
through all of this, because 'cause you're right, it is so important to have that community and those people who can help out because, it takes a village,
Right.
and
And so if you
for
don't
for every mom, we all need that support.
exactly. Yeah, and specifically for foster care, if you can't be a foster parent, find one and support them because it's huge. It means so, so, so much to us. If they like,
Yes.
we just get text on court dates, like, we're praying for you guys, praying that the judge makes the wise decision, praying, and it just makes you feel so much better. Like, okay, we're not in this alone, and this is scary, and walking in to see a judge is not the most fun thing ever, but we have people surrounding us, which is great. So God's definitely blessed us in that way.
Yes, I love that. Do you have any wisdom or advice for women who are maybe considering foster care?
Sure. Um, if you're in the Atlanta area, definitely look up Faith Bridge Foster Care. A plug for them. That's our private agency that we go through. It doesn't cost you any extra money to go through a private foster care agency. They're just extra added support, which is amazing. So definitely look
Yes.
into them, or in your area, look at private foster care agencies. They work along with DFACs, but they have smaller caseloads, so you can get in touch with them a lot faster, and they're just an extra layer support and help because a lot of our defects caseworkers are just so overwhelmed. I don't know how they do their job. They're just so, so overwhelmed. So definitely look into a private agency. Um, and then be prepared for the roller coaster because it is up one second, down the next second. But God will carry you through. And if this is what you're called to, you'll just feel peace at every step of the way.
Yes, I love that, and I definitely love Faith Bridge's structure in how they support foster parents, and I just again, I think it's so beautiful how they rally around foster parents,
Yes.
and especially with how heavy fostering can be at times, that you need
Yes,
that extra support.
for
I
sure.
love it. Well, just one more question I wanna ask before we
Uh-huh.
close out. How can we be praying for you guys?
That thank you. I really appreciate that. Our little guy has court in March, on March the 14th, and he hasn't had court for 6 months, which is a really long time for a little guy. So, big decisions might be made at this court hearing. So
Mhm.
we just continue to pray for whatever is best for him. And if that means us forever, that's great. If that means family forever, that's great. We just want what is best for him because God sees the whole picture. So we would love prayers for that court date for sure.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story and to give us that inside glimpse of this life and what it's been like for you guys. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes. Well, hopefully we'll talk again soon. And if anybody has any more questions about foster care, I would love for you to send them in and maybe we can get Katrina to answer them.
I'll try
Thank
my best.
thank you. Yes, thank you again. I'll talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Bye bye.
Hey friends, if you haven't already, it would mean so much to me if you'd leave a review for this podcast on iTunes or in your Apple Podcast app. Getting more reviews and ratings helps Soul Care for the New Mom get more exposure, which means more moms listening and more moms being filled with gospel truths and encouragement for their motherhood journey. I definitely want to see Soul Care continue to grow, and you can help with that with your review. Plus, I love hearing your feedback and getting an idea of what this podcast has meant to you. So when you get a chance, please be sure to do that. That would truly bless me today.